You've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. Today we're talking about either every negative with Aventurine or why you shouldn't summon for Aventurine if you're a free-to-play player. So I don't know what I put as the title yet. If I'm feeling really villainous, then it's probably the latter. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about why you as a free-to-play player shouldn't be summoning for Aventurine. I'll be giving you all the reasons on why you wouldn't want to summon on Aventurine's banner. Not to say that you shouldn't summon at all for him, because I think there's plenty of good scenarios for you to summon for him. But in today's video, we're just pinpointing all the negatives and reasons on why you might not want to, because I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way. Do I think Aventurine's going to be the best sustained character in the game? Yes, in terms of just pure sustainability. Do I think he's going to be the best overall sustainer in the game? No, I still think Hua is better. I like the energy regen, I like the attack percent more. And C, do I think he's going to do big dick daddy damage and that really matters? No, I don't think he's really going to do big damage. So we're going to get into these things here today. I do think he can be a great sustainer for your account and absolutely carry you through all the content in the game. But let's go ahead and stop into reason number one now. Why you might not want to pull for Aventurine. Why you shouldn't pull for Aventurine even. If you already have two S-tier sustainers, that being Fushuan, Hua, Locha. You have two of these units right here, two of these characters right here. There is no reason for you to pull for Aventurine at all. Because these other sustainers I just mentioned can sustain your team just fine without Aventurine being there. Aventurine is like a 5% upgrade in sustainability. So if you're looking for pure sustainability and you already have these two, there is no reason at all to pull for Aventurine. What you would be doing in this case would be pulling for Aventurine and just like completely eliminating you pulling another one of your gotcha 5-star sustain characters, right? You practically make them useless, okay? Absolutely useless, because you'll never use them again, right? So you've just wasted Jades now on a character that you're never going to use again. So do I think he's a absolutely must pull sustainer if you already have two sustainers? Absolutely not. I think he's an easy skip if you already have two S tier or featured 5-star sustainers. Me personally, I only have Fushuan on my account, so I'm going to pull for him. On my alt account, I only have Hua. I'm going to skip him because I really don't need him. I have Fire MC to do my job. Anyways, guys, this game's not that hard. You don't necessarily need him to sustain for you, but that's not the only thing he does, right? Because he helps follow-up teams, right? Because he does a lot of follow-up stuff, right? And I think if you're pulling for him for a follow-up team to have a fun follow-up team, he's going to be fun for that. Do I think he's going to be the best in slot for like maybe a Dr. Ratio? No, I think that Hua is still better because she does get the extra energy regen there, which helps him to get his ult up more, which helps him get more multi-target attacking out. What I mean by multi-target attack is you can put the ult on one enemy and then target another enemy and then have your allies target that enemy so we can attack two enemies at once. That's what I mean by multi-target attacking. Don't get it twisted. But that's kind of like the easiest point out of the way, right? Obviously, you have two sustainers. You don't need a third sustainer, right? Let's hop into reason number two now. His multipliers are absolute dog shit. They are selling this character as like a sub DPS. And his sub DPS, sure, while he can do some DPS, he's not even a sub DPS. I consider a sub DPS the second DPS on the team. He is not even going to be that. He is going to be the third to fourth DPS. He's going to do more damage than your a buffer character, but he's not going to do more damage than your other character on the team, right? So if you're running like double buffer on the team, then maybe he'll do more damage than both of those characters, but overall, his damage is not that high, guys. There's not that much difference in damage whether you're running him with like a defense orb compared to like an imaginary damage orb or a crit damage body compared to a defense body. I'm not going to show the math here. Go watch Gotcha Smack's video. He has a very informative video doing all the math. Go check out his video and all the math, okay? He shows all of it there, and not much difference in damage. Why would I want to sacrifice defensive capability to maybe do 5 to 10k more damage? It just doesn't make much sense to me, okay? Easy clap, not very good. The multipliers are dog shit. Whenever you get the defense up to a certain point, defense percentage really doesn't matter anymore. That's why I said the light cone really doesn't matter for him. Defense percentage doesn't matter. And all the people in the comment section saying, oh, well, the light cone will allow you to put a debuff on the enemy. Yes, it will allow you to put a debuff on the enemy, but you're not getting your ult up enough. That means you're not getting your ult off effectively, but that kind of leads us into another downside with him. He has no aggro rate in this kit, right? And the reason I bring this up is because everyone from the previous videos, the one with 50% like to dislike ratio, good God, guys, you're copium for that. You don't need his signature light cone at all, okay? It has no aggro rate with a light cone. There's no aggro rate in his kit. His multipliers, as we mentioned before, are completely dog water, dog trash. Once you get him up to 4k defense, you're not getting any benefit at all from that 40% there, right? The crit damage bonus really doesn't matter too much. There's no like big damage percent bonuses in his kit at all, so crit damage, it's okay. And then finally, the debuff, right? The debuff requires him to do a follow-up attack, which requires 7 stacks, which means it requires, if your team gets hit and he doesn't get hit, 7 hits. If he gets hit, it's 3 hits, right? If you were to run Trends of Universe universal market, which also doesn't have any aggro rate, it would still net more debuffs on the enemy to be more efficient on an Acheron team. But I'm not going to rant about the light cone in this video. That's just kind of like my take on it. There are a lot of good free-to-play light cones for him. There's a lot of good light cones. You can practically run every single preservation light cone on him, and he's going to do well with it, right? So there's like really no point to summon for it. That's besides that. But let's continue on Aventurine now, right? And what I want to continue on here is his stat lines in general, right? He requires a lot of stats, especially if you want to run him as like a sub DPS, right? Or even get like any damage on him, right? Because you're going to be focusing on defense, speed, crit rate, crit damage. That's a lot of stats, right? And I would never sacrifice my defense percentage for a DPS set. Why would I not sacrifice that, right? Because most of his effects come from having shields on your allies and himself, right? He can prevent CC with having a shield on himself. He gives himself 50% effect res while having a shield on him. By the way, this guy right here from the last video that said, when he has a shield up, he can't take any debuffs. 50% doesn't equal 100%, buddy. He can still get dots put on him, and those dots will eat him alive, just like dots eat Japar alive and destroy his shield. And without his shield, he is absolutely nothing, right? He loses CC prevention. He also loses effect resistance he was giving himself, which then in turn makes you use another skill point, which makes him SP inefficient, which is something we'll touch on a little bit later in the video. And also, just a little side note here, I know some people don't like when their comments get put on the screen with their full name. My advice to you is don't put a dumbass comment in the comment section if you don't want to be exposed like this. I don't care about who flamed your ass. Don't put your comment on a public space if you don't want to get flamed. That's all I'm going to say to you, bucko. Anyways, back to the video at hand here. So, let's talk about SP and efficiency, because if you're building him a more DPS route, then you're going to have to use more skill points, because that means A, his shields are weaker, B, you're probably losing his shields faster, which means he's going to get CC'd more. If he gets CC'd more and your allies lose their shield, yeah, that's a GG, bucko. That's just game over, okay? I'm not saying his shield is bad. I think his shield is extremely strong, but I think if you focus too much on your crit damage, imaginary damage, energy regen for the chain, because you're probably going to have to run energy regen for the chain, it's going to cause a lot of SP issues for the team, because they're going to constantly be having to shield, right? And for me personally, I would just prefer to sustain, right? And this is where I think his kit kind of fails at here, is because he is sent and structured to be like a sub DPS, but his multipliers are so crap that you're gonna have to invest so much into him to actually do like a decent amount of damage. But then on top of that, you're losing out, right? It's like a double-edged sword, right? It's like, well, his defense percent multipliers are so bad with any of his attacks he does. And then if you switch out your orb, body piece, and rope or whatever, right, to try to compensate for some extra damage, then you're losing out on the extra damage he'd be getting. And then you're like, well, now I have more crit damage, but now he's doing around the same amount of damage. Like, the damage threshold for him is not that high, right? His multipliers are super, super low. And you're not going to be able to effectively run him as a sub DPS, in my opinion, unless you're like a super sweaty Giga tier gamer and have like absolute god rolls and your relics, and you have speed, defense, crit rate, crit damage in every single piece like Mr. Pokey would. There's really no point. That's why I feel like his kit is kind of flawed in this way, is building him as like a sub DPS, right? I feel like they should have built him more of a like supportive type of preservation character versus like a sub DPS, because like I said, the scalings are bad. He doesn't really do that much damage. He does more damage than Fu Xuan for sure. He does the most damage out of any of the preservation characters, and I would even dare say any of the sustain characters in general, but it's still like doing less damage than Wind Dragon Danny, alright? And we know how dog water he is, right? Now, let's hop into some more of the positives here, right? Because there are some positives to this. Who is he good with? He's good with anyone that needs a shield. Yangqing, he needs a shield. You can run him with Yangqing. Follow-up characters, he'll run great with follow-up characters. But that's really about it, right? Follow-up characters and people that need a shield is his best in slot, or like where he works the most efficiently at. He also is pretty good in single target scenario, because he can do some absolutely massive shield break damage. But that would also require you to build break effect into his kit as well. So now you're having to build defense, speed, crit rate, crit damage, and break effect. Not to mention probably some effect res as well. It's just a lot of stats. He needs a lot of stats. You're running signature light cone, now you need effect hit right in there. Okay, you just need a lot of stats for him, and that's like my main gripe with him. But at the end of the day, right, if you don't have two preservation characters, like two like S tier preservation characters, pull him. I think he is going to do wonders for your account, right? This video just revolves around if you already have two like S tier sustain characters. If you don't have two of the S tier sustain characters, two premium gacha 5-star sustain characters, then I don't really think he's worth it. He doesn't really offer much value unless you just want to pull for him, which is what I'm doing, right? I do need another sustain character on my account, but I have been just fine with Fire, MC, and Japard. My Japard has 2k defense and absolutely is carrying me, so like he's not like a must pull, but if you are struggling with the game and you want a really casual, easy experience, then for sure pull for him if you don't have 2 sustain characters already. I think he's going to give you comfortability because he just had shields in your team. If you build him completely sustain, you will never have to worry about dying. I can almost guarantee you that. He will literally, his shields are just so strong that he's just like, boom, like with Japard, right? The one downside with Japard is you have to build a lot into him to make him constantly give shields out with his ultimate. Whereas with him, if you get into a bad situation, you can just pop his skill. Shield for the whole team, right? You have to wait 1 rotation. With Japard, you have like, oh, I might need to use a skill this turn to get enough energy for the ultimate to do that. But with him, it's completely different, right? And one other thing I do want to mention here is I do like Fu Xuan in terms of giving crit rate for the whole team versus him giving crit damage on a specific enemy. I feel like the debuff is nice there, but crit rate for the whole team, I guess it really doesn't matter. What am I talking? I'm talking about my ass. Anyways, guys, I'm leaving now. Bye. If you want to talk crap in the comment sections, do that. This is the last hate video on Aventurine, right? We're gonna be having some banger content on Aventurine, barring that I actually pull him, because I'm not spending any of my money because I am absolutely broke. I bought a motorcycle, guys. Isn't this so cool? It only goes like 50 miles an hour, so I'm so cool. Bye.